Ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot to talk about today. Hit subscribe because this is going to be a very important segment. And to my super chat, I can't do this without you, so thank you. Eric, H526, my moderator. Luke St. Martin, my two moderators, thank you. And this is all over the news now. And I'll just use for the algorithm, of course, the T-Ban form. T-Ban instead of the name. The T-Ban form, all-male Afghan government of old guard members. Market Watch, T-Ban announced a new all-male government. The Guardian, T-Ban name all-male Afghan cabinet, including minister wanted by the Bureau. Can I ask a very simple question? Who did they expect? Who did they think would be, did they expect Megan Rapinoe to be defense secretary? Their new defense secretary? What did they expect? What did media expect? Why would this be an issue? Why would this be a newsworthy item that the T-Ban of all organizations have come up with an all-male government? Of course they did. Why is this newsworthy? Because we're asleep at the wheel. We're being led, especially by mashed potato brains. Our president, who presided over one of the worst moments in American political history. We're completely asleep at the wheel. And I'm not talking about, I wanted us to leave. That's why I voted for President Trump. The manner in which we left, utilizing the T-Ban as security to vet Americans and Afghans, giving them lists of names, leaving billions in weaponry, everything from night vision goggles to Humvees, to Black Hawk helicopters, to millions of rounds, to 600,000 light arms. I mean, it's unbelievable. But this is British war hero Biden is more harmful to the West than the T-Ban. This is a Washington Examiner article on Yahoo. A highly decorated British Army officer said he is absolutely shocked at President Joe Biden's Afghanistan withdrawal, rendering the 20-year war a total waste. And he goes on to, this is a Special Operations Staff Sergeant Trevor Colt, who has been both feted by the Queen and President George W. Bush. Biden is the most incompetent president in the history of the United States. I would agree with him. In addition to George W. Bush, I would agree with him. Colt told the Washington Examiner he has befriended, let's just use the word adversaries. The White House is not a friend to the West. It is a detriment while he is president. I'll use the word detriment. We believe Biden is more of a detriment to the West than the T-Ban ever was. Without a shadow of a doubt, he betrayed us. The manner in which Biden left, and to my super chat, thank you, I can't do this without you. The manner in which Biden left made everyone less safe. It telegraphed to the world he does not have a plan. The man does not have, he doesn't have any plan for anything. He doesn't have any plan. He doesn't have any plan or strategy or he doesn't have any plan or strategy. He doesn't have any understanding of what he wants to do. The country is being led by somebody who is being led by a bunch of people who are being led by media and perhaps other things. They do not care about some kind of roadmap or some kind of blueprint or some kind of vision they have for the future. They don't look, Biden's administration doesn't look 10 years ahead or even 5 years ahead and says, okay, we want a great economy. We want economic growth. They don't say that. They don't say we want economic growth. They don't say we want economic growth. We want to ensure that China and Russia aren't more powerful than we are on the economic or global or military stage, around the world, militarily around the world. It's not even so much that. I'm not worried about militarily. Nobody has the money to compete with our military, and we have the best military, best soldiers. And God bless the veterans and the soldiers who did so much for this country. We can never repay you. Those 13 Americans should be alive today. It's 100% Biden's fault. The manner in which he left us vulnerable to that type of thing. He could have left January, February, March, April. He didn't have to leave 2 weeks in a haphazard manner. The man, he doesn't have any, they don't know what the infrastructure bill will do for the country, other than it's public relations. Biden wants to be seen as FDR. So he wants to be seen as all the New Deal projects. He wants to preside over this new generation of Depression-era projects that are going to rebuild the country. And it's like, we live in the 21st century. So we live in a world where construction is a very small part. It's a very important part of the economy, but it's percentage-wise, it's a small part of the U.S. economy. It's a small fraction of the U.S. economy. I don't know how Biden's infrastructure bill is going to help. I don't know how Biden's infrastructure bill is going to help a single mom who lost her job because Democrats tanked their state. The highest unemployment rates are in Democratic-run states. How on earth is that going to help people get back to work? How on earth is that going to help the overall economy? People, there's a disconnect now. There's job openings, but they're not corresponding to the skills that people have. And so now he wants to rebuild bridges or roads, and it's like, okay, how does that help the overall economy? Even the Wharton School of Business says it's going to decrease GDP. So how on earth is it making, all you have to do is say the words climate change and equity, and they get this Pavlovian response. They start salivating. These words don't help people. The words themselves don't help people. And the concepts will take a long time to get to the objective that they want in their minds, the utopian objective. That, by the way, many people already say either exist or is. There's no way to, with our current technology, to truly address climate change in the manner that Kerry wants. Kerry said that we can go zero emissions, our country and China, and it still wouldn't make a dent. So they don't have a blueprint. They don't have a roadmap. They don't have a strategy. They just don't want to be Trump. So their whole thing is anything as long as it's not Trump. Anything as long as it's not Trump. KSNF! HJ finally caught a stream. Thank you. I hope all is well. KSNF, to my UK viewers, thank you so very much. And to the British soldiers who helped us, God bless you. And helped your country, and kept your country safe, and helped keep our country safe. God bless you. And the world. KSNF, thank you. AHA finally caught a live stream. KSNF, I hope all is well. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you so very, very much for watching, as always. KSNF, thank you. Nobody on the planet looks at mashed potato brains and says this man is a leader. Nobody. Do you think he knows what he's doing? Does anyone here think he knows what he's doing? Does anybody here think that he knows what he's doing? Anybody? Does anybody on the planet think that he knows what he's doing? It's not a matter of... It's not his weird and frightening and bizarre personality. That's not it. Okay, they obsessed over Trump's personality. They didn't like Trump's personality. So what they did was they obsessed over everything that he said. KSNF, thank you again. They obsessed over every single thing he said. They lied about his quotes, took words, put words into his mouth, took words out of context. They obsessed. They leveled 92 to 100% negative media coverage at Trump, and it was only because they didn't like his personality. They didn't like what they think he stood for. He came in, he wasn't part of the establishment, and he reversed U.S. foreign policy. That's why they didn't like Trump. That's why they cared so much about, whether or not he was going to give aid to Ukraine, or he gave lethal aid to Ukraine. Biden or President Obama did not. The Russians allegedly, infiltrated infiltrated the DNC under President Obama's watch. The Democrats use basic logic and reason. If Putin was so frightened of the Democratic Party, why did he do all of those things while President Obama was in office? And God bless morally superior liberal Democrats. They're fantastic people. Their version of national security was Facebook ads. Well, now we see that they're completely shocked and stunned that the T-Ban would have an all-male government. What did they expect? The ladies at The View? Did they think Joy Behar was going to be part of the T-Ban government? What did they expect? This is how asleep at the wheel we are. We have no clue. This is why you get the Montana fishermen. This is why I want to tell you, you're the most horrible human being on the planet. It's like, well, why don't you go and visit Afghanistan and then visit an organization called the T-Ban or ISK or AQ? Maybe, just maybe, there might be actually more horrible people than Tucker Carlson. Expand your horizons beyond the apoplectic sensibilities of morally superior liberals, just for once. It's unbelievable the level of, we're living in a national, there's a mass delusion in our country, and it's media hysteria, and the fact that Republicans are completely inept and weak, the establishment Republicans. I'm not talking about Rand Paul or Trump or Ron Johnson or Devin Nunes. I'm not talking about Jim Jordan. I'm talking about the never Trump, Mitt Romney, Kinzinger, Cheney, these people. They're completely weak and inept, and they allow Democrats and media to get away with everything. So we're living in this kind of purgatory right now, and that'll change once Republicans take over the House with Trump Republicans. Then you'll have numerous impeachments, hopefully. At least one. Immediately. The new Republicans that'll take over. Todd Ruble! Come on. Build back. Come on, you know the thing. KSNF, thank you so much, as always. Very kind of you. Thank you, KSNF. Thank you. Todd Ruble. Build back. Come on, you know the thing. KSNF, thank you as always for your generosity. Thank you, KSNF. Todd Ruble, you know the thing. You know the thing. But let me ask you this question, KSNF and Todd. Do you trust Biden to get us out of or to address the next foreign policy crisis? Like, he should be talking to Pakistan and other countries around, other neighboring countries, to get Americans out. We have Americans left behind. Why doesn't Biden take it upon himself to engage in a diplomatic effort to get Americans out? We have probably more than 200 Americans. Why? Because it's public relations. He should be talking to Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and Pakistan. He should be talking to these countries, and it should be public. It should be a focus of the Biden administration. He shouldn't be preventing private aircraft from leaving. The State Department is still preventing private, and you get people that are so petulant, like, oh yeah, well, you know, it's like, oh yeah, okay, well, Trump was worse, you know, it's like they're the ones who always talk about how terrible Trump was, and it's like they're the ones who preside over the most horrible consequences, but they're shielded from the outrage. The outrage meter is shielded. Like, the outrage meter never goes past a certain level with their debacles. We have Americans left behind. How is that normal? How is that normal? How on earth? When did we descend into this madness where the T-Ban now is going door to door? And then Blinken denies T-Ban blocking Americans from leaving Afghanistan. This man is unbelievable. This administration is unbelievable. What do you mean the T-Ban isn't blocking Americans? How can you say that with certainty? You're dealing with an organization that already made the cardinal sin of an all-male government, which I find hilarious that people would find newsworthy. Fox News: Biden heckled in New Jersey for stranding Americans in Afghanistan. How is that? And then you have Blinken saying Blinken denies T-Ban blocking Americans from leaving Afghanistan. How does he know anything? He didn't even know how many Americans were there. He didn't even know how many Americans were there. So how does he know? Biden's administration never knew which is bizarre. I don't understand that. Because I have no clue. Like, if you leave the country, there's a record of you leaving. So I don't understand. I don't understand how that works. How you can be so clueless. I don't understand that. I don't understand how you could be so clueless as to not know how many Americans have left this country when there's so much surveillance. I wish Trump was back also. I mean, we spend billions upon billions. I think it's just for the agencies that set up Trump. Brennan, Comey, Clapper, presiding over those agencies. It was $30 billion. They had a $30 billion budget, and the rest of the intelligence agencies, it goes in like closer to $100 billion, the apparatus. That's the estimate. A year, that's their funding. That's the American taxpayer dollars. Okay, so here, this is U.S. working with T-Ban on flying remaining Americans out of Afghanistan. How do you know that they are not, there's no graft involved? How do you know this? How do you know that people known for the most despicable behavior aren't saying, no, you're not going to leave unless you give us all the money you have, or, you know. And now there's propaganda videos showing T-Ban fighters in our uniforms using our gear. Biden leaving Americans behind is the main thing, but leaving billions in weaponry, they're already making propaganda films. We armed them for years. Any hope that maybe an indigenous group would be able to overtake them is now gone. Let's just assume there could have been some kind of resistance. It's now gone. He literally armed them. Why did Biden do this? It makes no sense. I don't understand it. I don't understand how this administration, this president, I mean, you get what you want, you get what you, there are consequences globally for somebody like mashed potato brains. There are consequences globally. And this British Army, high-level Army officer, he's right. I mean, if you want to talk about Western interests, China is going to overtake us. I mean, this was, like, I look at it from the vantage point of the 90s Miami Hurricanes. Okay, I'm a diehard USC Trojan fan. But I look at it like the 90s Miami Hurricanes. If you don't want them to celebrate in the end zone, stop them. If you don't want celebrations in the end zone, then stop them from getting into the end zone. Okay? We've been outmaneuvered around the world. I'm not just talking militarily. I'm talking economically. I'm talking about in terms of political influence. We have less political influence now. Because there are other countries in the world, I know it's very bizarre, that don't care about Facebook ads. See, we have a political party that has merged with media. So all China or Russia have to do is infuse their interests with the interests of the Democratic Party in a deceptive manner, and it's all good. Do you think that obsessing over Facebook ads was national security? You think that Putin was upset or frightened about sanctions that he didn't even care about? And I just look at this like old 80s celebrity, 70s, 80s celebrity Twitter account. I don't have Twitter. I don't have Facebook. But I look at C because she's like one of the most well-known, morally superior liberals. And I'm not going to give you her name, but not one mention of Afghanistan. Not one mention of Afghanistan at all. They're still talking about Trump. They're still talking about Trump. They're still obsessed over him. And it's like they're still obsessed over him. They're obsessed over the SB 8 in Texas. They're still obsessed over climate change. These are things that have nothing directly to do with U.S. national security. Climate change does, but there's no way to address it within the next year or 4 years so that you reverse it. China emits more carbon emissions than I think Europe and the U.S. combined. You can correct me if I'm wrong. So, you're not going to... Democrats have obsessed over things that cannot be addressed. And they've done so simply... It's actually the perfect deceptive ploy. They can't be... There's no way to actually judge whether or not they're successful, but you better believe they can pontificate and preach and give sermons about how important climate change is and how it's part of national security, which it is, but in a different way than China perhaps invading Taiwan or us leaving Afghanistan in a horrible, horrible manner that caused 13 Americans to lose their lives and close to 200 Afghans to lose their lives. That's on Biden. And if you want to go and use the mentality that Democrats had, that's on every voter of Biden. Every person who voted for Biden voted for this. You got to ask yourself, why is this happening? They're not talking about Afghanistan. Do you understand? They're not talking about Americans left behind. They don't care. They don't care. It's like they have such a warped view of reality. Reality to them is really what most if most people are saying one thing, if there's a consensus around media or the smartest people in the room, quote unquote, that's all they care about. They don't care about an actual strategy to get to a better economy, a stronger country, a safer world. Does you think Biden looks at the world and says, okay, this is what we need to do to ensure that countries don't obtain nuclear missiles? This is what we need to do to ensure that rivals don't, threaten our interests. This is what we need to do to ensure that China can't, heaven forbid, take over islands that belong to the Philippines or South Korea or Japan. Because that's the next huge, colossal, possible nuclear confrontation. You think China is worried? You think President Xi is worried about Biden? You think that these people you're talking about, that's why Trump was right. they dislike Trump so much that they think he's they think that he's this monster that will devour them and the entire planet, turn everything orange. But look at the world. Look at Putin. Look at Xi. You think these people view mashed potato brains? You think they fear him? They know that it's not even him. It's Blinken. This Secretary of State Blinken is horrendous. He's horrible. He makes Clinton look good. Hillary Clinton would be a better president than Biden. This is very bizarre for me to say. Hillary Clinton would be a much better president than Biden. She'd be more militant, or she probably wouldn't have left Afghanistan, which would be a bad thing, but she wouldn't have engaged in the completely catastrophic manner that Biden left. Of Biden's of evacuation. I would never vote for Hillary Clinton, but she would be a better leader than Biden. Anyone's a better leader than Biden. Nobody would tell Hillary what to do, ever. Okay? That's also a problem. But nobody would, advise, nobody could ever tell or, she, like Trump or like President Obama or like Bush or like any other, well, Bush was horrible, but like any other president would have an idea of what she wanted done. It might not be what I agree with at all, but at least she would have an idea. That's better than not having any idea at all. Mashed Potato Brains is not a leader in any way, shape, or form. He reacts all the time. He reacts to media coverage. He gave an August 31st cutoff date only because, and believe me, I'm not saying that I would want Madam Secretary as president. What I am saying is that anyone's better than Biden. Anyone's better than Biden. I mean, this is, he doesn't have any vision for the future. You can look. President Trump had a vision for the future. He let everybody know you have to engage in very tough tariffs. Those are, at this point now, China cared about the tariffs. They're not going to care. They're not going to care 20, 30 years from now at all. They're not going to care 20, 30 years from now at all. We're not going to even be in their radar. We will. We will be in third. It'll be China, India, and us. If they successfully invade Taiwan, which what would happen is they would invade Taiwan. God forbid it happens anytime soon. But eventually, if they ever do, they're moving towards an invasion or blockade. And it's probably going to happen within Biden's presidency. If they do that, do you think that this administration or this presidency has any idea what to do? Do you think they have any contingency plans or any idea of how to... You think they have any idea at all of how to address that crisis? Do you think they have any idea at all if something terrible happens in the Persian Gulf? Do you think they have any idea at all, after talking about, all that nonsense for 4 years, what to do if Putin invades a former Soviet bloc nation that is bordering its country? You think they have any idea at all what to do when, another crisis strikes? Do you think they have any idea at all what to do economically? Do you think they have a plan economically? Jobs, we had less. Indy Wood! Indy! I hope all is well. Oh, I was definitely right in 2016. Definitely right about Trump, Russia. Definitely right about a whole bunch of things. But do you think that, let's put it this way. Really quickly, compare my predictions and my analysis to the $20 million venture capital people. I'll just leave it at that. Compare my analysis, the fact that when I was saying that the Trump Russia was complete nonsense, I was saying that from the beginning. It was completely fabricated, and all of media was saying that it was, Trump worked with Russia, and that nobody, very few people out there, well, there was a number of people, but very few people were swimming upstream. I'm constantly swimming upstream. And if I go out on a limb saying Clinton would be nominee instead of Biden, well, like, who cares? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, do you really think that mashed potato brains? Do you look at why and look at how things turned out, and you'll see there's at least some logic or rationale behind what I was saying. But I did say that Clinton would lose to Trump. Nobody was saying that, and I was saying that throughout all my writing and on this channel. You can go to hagoodman.com. Anyway, why am I addressing negative comments? Anyway, I also said a whole bunch of things. Amy Coney Barrett, I was saying that she was going to be the next Supreme Court justice before she was Supreme Court justice, a whole bunch of things. But again, it's like my track record is a million times better than a whole bunch of people who obsessed over Trump's taxes. I said that Trump's taxes would not lead to any indictment. They were saying that she would lead to indictments. And anyway, I don't want to. Orange Grove 55. Dems seem very nervous about Newsom. They do. Indy Wood, thank you again. Very much. Luke St. Martin, thank you. I think that it's not doing well in terms of a whole bunch of let's just look, Larry. So, let's see. Newsom elder polling strong in California. Recall 1 week out of election. If the Democrat is recalled, conservative radio host Larry Elder is the candidate most likely to replace him. Elder is one of 46 candidates who appear on the recall ballot. So Newsom is currently serving. Okay, he is. We've had a homelessness crisis for years and years. The Democrats have not addressed. They literally have barely have addressed this issue. It is a huge issue, and it's a public health issue also for the poor people who lack housing, and also for everyone else. You can't have people going to the bathroom on the streets of any city. You just can't have that all the time. So you look, it's like look at how Trump was vindicated on pretty much everything. You have Newsom getting recalled now, or having to battle a recall. You have Andrew Cuomo, whose Emmy was taken away from him. They took his Emmy. You took my Emmy away. Oh my God. These are governors that were championed. These are governors that were championed by media. Governors that were championed by media, and it's like you look now and you see, you actually see, you can see that they weren't doing a good job. They weren't doing a good job. It's like they live in a fantasy world where the paradigm is whatever's the opposite of Trump. So anything, you have to understand, this is the frightening thing, and it is truly frightening. There is nothing, ladies and gentlemen, now hear me out on this. There is nothing that they won't accept. If Trump is on the other side of the equation, if it has to do with opposing Trump, they will pick, they will elect Biden 100 out of 100 times. We could be fifth in the world economically. Our global standing could be worse than it is even now. Homelessness, crime could be rampant. It doesn't matter. Do you understand? It doesn't matter, because what'll happen is Twitter will suppress any story detrimental to mashed potato brains. Social media algorithms everywhere will go into full suppression, censorship, overdrive. They will fabricate a quote from Trump that he never stated, but they'll fabricate it and believe he said it. Their indignation and their outrage it'll overshadow any national security concern. You'll have Major League Baseball and corporations continue to sell their souls to whatever they even have any souls to the Democratic Party. And at the end of the day, I mean, this will continue to happen until there's a Republican Party that stands up again, that opposes the Democratic Party. You can't have Republicans. Sorry, you can't blame Trump for Georgia, or Arizona, or anything. If you were investigating a Republican president, you blame Paul Ryan, blame Richard Burr, blame these people who investigated a Republican. I don't even care. I don't care so much about party politics. I mean, I'm not beholden to a political party. I'm not. If it's Tulsi Gabbard versus, Richard Burr, I'd vote for Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not beholden to a political party. I don't want never-ending wars. I don't want, endless interventions. I don't want any of that stuff. That's why it was a moral imperative to vote for Trump. But Trump is like, he's basically a third party that isn't a declared third party. And you look and it's like, Orange Grove 55 doesn't help Newsom, but he looks like a generic Marvel bad. He does. Orange Grove 55, the secret spaceship. Orange Grove 55, thank you. The secret spaceship. HA stands for truth, justice, and the American way. Yes. Thank you, the secret spaceship. Thank you for your passion and bringing journalistic, to being our journalistic sentinel. Thank you. Cheers. Thank you, the secret spaceship. Thank you so very, very much. Thank you so very, very much. The secret spaceship. Greatly, greatly, greatly appreciated. The secret spaceship. Thank you so much. I just it's interesting. You look at the Republicans did this to themselves, and you have Trump, who put 3 Republicans on the Supreme Court. It's like no good deed in politics, no good deed goes unpunished. I mean, you have an interpreter who saved Biden's life. Could you imagine if Trump's life was saved in Afghanistan, he left the interpreter behind? It would be nonstop. Do you understand? It would be nonstop. The biggest dilemma we face as a society and as a nation is the lie by omission. They didn't lie, media. They didn't lie. Democrats did. Psaki said that we're going to get him out. The lie, of course, is that they should never have left him there to begin with. Do you think just maybe an interpreter that saved Biden's life, do you think just maybe if they had given that name to the T-Ban that he would be in harm's way? I don't even want to get into why. And you have Blinken, well, no, the T-Ban's not preventing people from leaving. This is like, the Associated Press and Reuters, Taliban, T-ban. They have an all-male government. What? An all-male government? How dare they? Haven't they read, I don't know, the latest theories? Didn't they take a class in Berkeley on equity and goodness? They have to have an all-male government? What? The nerve! Yeah, also, God forbid boiling people alive, but leave that aside. An all-male government? What? No. Yes, it's true. It's true. Can you believe these people? Where's the Montana fishermen going up to the T-ban saying they're bad people? You'll never see it. You will never see it. We need to fly a fisherman from Montana or any other state, Idaho, and just, we need the optics of, you're the most horrible human being ever. You're one of the most horrible people ever. You're even worse than Tucker Carlson. Who did they think would be part of the government? Like I said, ladies at The View, Megan Rapinoe, what? It's an all-male government. Can you believe the nerve of these people? Haven't they, don't they know what AOC thinks of them? This is we're asleep. We're completely asleep at the wheel as a society. We're completely asleep at the wheel. And it's this is what happens when you have a petulant political system that cares more about Trump's personality and his tweets. And that's why I say he had to calm down, because I didn't care about his rhetoric, okay? You didn't care about his rhetoric. But there were some things he shouldn't have said, but also there was the things that weren't that big of a deal, they turned into, there was more emotion among the left over Trump's tweets than leaving Americans behind. There's more emotion than leaving a pregnant woman behind, or a pregnant American woman, or an American woman with 130 rescue dogs, or an interpreter, an Afghan interpreter that saved Biden's life. There was more outrage. These people are outraged over things that have nothing to do with life. Like Trump's tweets, his rhetoric or his personality is not a national security concern. Nobody cared. And then they said, oh, the world is laughing at us. No, you have projected your sensibilities upon the world, thinking that the entire world is an apoplectic liberal. Everyone in every country. No, there are conservatives in the UK. There are conservatives everywhere, and in Australia, and they like Trump. In India, everywhere, they like Trump. The conservatives in every country liked Trump, okay? The liberals in every country really didn't like Trump. And Democrats really didn't like Trump because he told them to, you know what? Take a hike. The secret spaceship, thank you very, very, very much. As always, I hope all is well. I mean, media has shielded Biden beyond belief. Biden twisted inside and out as he claims people don't say tornado anymore. I don't even know what that means. The members of Congress know from their colleagues in Congress that, you know the deal. The looks like a tornado. They don't call that anymore. They don't call them that anymore. That hit the crops in the wetlands in the middle of the country in Iowa and Nevada. It's just across the board. What? Oh my God. President Joe Biden stumbled through parts of his Tuesday briefing on hurricane, leaving the definition of tornado unclear. We've got to make sure that we don't leave any community behind. What? Are you sending them to Afghanistan? What's going on? And it's all across the country. Oh my God. We're going to you-know-where in a handbasket. Joy, thank you. It's just, I mean, it's... Hold on one second. Let's see if we can get the soulful sounds of Biden. Let's go to C-SPAN. If I go to C-SPAN, C-SPAN, Biden. So, hold on one second. Okay. Hold on. President Biden on climate change. The code is red. Whatever. How about getting Americans home? Bringing them home. I love that, like... It's unbelievable. You look every time he speaks, the downvotes are like 4 or 5 or 6 or 10 times the downvotes as upvotes. So I'm trying to find what he... Let's listen to him right now. Okay. Let's see what Einstein is saying today.
Folks, the evidence is clear. Climate change poses an existential threat.
Existential. Evidence clear. Existential.
To our lives, to our economy, and the threat is here. It's not going to get any better. The question, can it get worse?
Can it get?
We can stop it from getting worse. And when I talk about...
We can stop it from getting worse? By doing what? How can we stop it from getting worse when even Kerry says that if we go to zero emissions along with China, it still wouldn't make a dent? That's Kerry's own words, so, oh well.
About building back better, and Chuck is fighting for my program, our program on the Hill. When I talk about building back better, I mean you can't build to what it was before this last storm.
You can't build to what it was. You can't build to what it was. What does that mean?
You got to build better so if the storm occurred again, there would be no damage. There would be. But that's not going to stop us, though, because if we just do that, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse, because the storms are going to get worse and worse and worse.
Yes, and if we drive electric cars, then the storms won't get worse, right? Of course.
And so, folks, we got to listen to the scientists.
Oh, yeah, the ones who agree with us. The ones who don't, well, bad people.
And the economists and the national security experts.
National security experts.
They all tell us this is code red. The nation and the world are in...
It's such a racket. All they do is quote people that agree with them. So the scientists or experts that agree with them, they say, oh my God. The scientists or experts that disagree with them, oh my God, really bad. Not a part of the consensus. The consensus is okay, there is a climate change consensus. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the consensus on a whole bunch of things. But then there are even people who are scientists who disagree with the consensus that are never listened to on climate change or anything else. There are a great many people who there's actually a consensus among scientists against the consensus of scientists that agree with Democrats. But we don't hear from those people because there's something called debate, dialogue, discussion, truth. Truth is independent of left and right. But you don't get that. It's pure propaganda. Well, we have to listen to the scientists, not the scientists that agree with you or the scientists that have a different viewpoint on any number of topics. Why should we always be deceived by this vapid propaganda ploy? What you mean to say is experts that agree with you. And what you mean to say is that you've marginalized and intimidated experts and authorities who disagree. So you have a fabricated consensus. And the consensus is also built by peer pressure and economic incentive and political incentive. It's very difficult swimming upstream for anyone. But anyway, you have a situation, ladies and gentlemen, but here, let's just see. Where is he about tornado? Okay, so. Oh, here. Let's see if we can. Look.
Looks like a tornado. They don't call them that anymore. That hit the crops and wetlands in the middle of the country, in Iowa and Nevada, and it's just across the board. And as I said, we're in this together.
This is a test for many outcomes.
So it's like I don't know. I don't know what to say other than you got what you wanted, Democrats. You have mashed potato brains now, and we're going to you-know-where in a handbasket. I hope you're happy. I hope you're happy. Wonderful, morally superior liberals. By the way, to them, that Afghanistan story is completely just, it has nothing to do with what's going on, in our world today. Because they've forgotten about it. So, Dale, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so very much. To my super chat, thank you. The Secret Spaceship, KSNF, everybody here, thank you. I will be back at 7 p.m., ladies and gentlemen. 7 p.m. So, definitely be back here, everybody, 7 p.m., and I thank you so very much. This concludes our afternoon live stream, and we'll get to the early evening live stream at 7 p.m. Everybody, God bless you. Thanks so much. It was a great live stream. Thanks, everybody. Have a great, great, great day. I'll see you in about 3 hours. Thanks, everybody. To my super chat, thank you, Eric and Luke. Luke, thank you. Thanks, Eric. See you soon.